Hello again, and welcome back to the Front Row, a minor production of the First Congregational Church in South Pekin, where our intent is to bring snippets from our Sunday morning message into your week. We've had a really solid week of talking about the spiritual discipline of service. We're going to wrap it up today with some practical applications. So how do I live this life? What are some arenas that I can lean into if I want to develop the spiritual discipline within me of service? And our author gives us some great categories to consider. Again, I'm going to go back to my notes and follow down his list because I think they're really good. First of all, he talks about the service of hiddenness. Now, this is one that really challenges us because he says that hiddenness is a rebuke to the flesh and can deal a fatal blow to pride. Remember, a spirit of service is going to lead us toward a spirit of humility, the virtue of humility. And if we are doing something for the accolades, for the affirmation, so that people can see what we're doing, that is not the spirit of hiddenness. We have to be careful. And this is so hard because I believe that one of the beautiful things in our walk is to be able to model what it looks like to walk in these disciplines, to model for others what it means to live a Christ-like life. And if you're a model, you're seen. If you're trying to model a characteristic, a, a procedure, a lifestyle, people need to see it. But in the acts of service that we do, what's our driver? What's our motivation? Is it so that we can be seen? Or do we actually intentionally not let anybody know about a number of things we do? The Bible tells us that if we receive our reward on earth, we don't need it in heaven. Well, I want to get my reward in heaven, so how do I minimize my desire and my efforts to get some reward here for the acts of service that I do? The Bible also talks about when you're giving to not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And we don't need to take that literally. We don't need to hide one hand behind our back when we're putting things in the plate. And we don't need to worry about whether or not somebody sees us put something in the plate. It's really speaking again to this spirit of hiddenness, the service of hiddenness. Let's not do things on the street corner and babble a bunch of words and find our motivation about what other people see in us. It's about an offering of a spirit to God. And the more we can do that in hiddenness, I believe the more it speaks to the development of our virtue of humility and a blessing in our lives. I spent a lot of time on that one. I'm going to go through the others relatively quickly. There's the service of the small things. Be salt in this world. We don't need a lot of salt for great flavoring and the preservative nature of salt. We don't need to take the salt shaker lid off and just dump a whole. It's just a light seasoning. How are we a seasoning to this life and the life of others? Just be a little salt in the world, the small things. The service of guarding the reputation of others. We're told not to speak evil of anyone, not to gossip, not to slander. So protect the reputation of others by holding back, by not talking about them, unless you are building them up. Encourage one another daily as long as it is called today. But let's, in the spirit of service, not slander, malign, or speak badly of other people. The service of being served. In our scripture reading, Peter stood up to Jesus, said, "No, you're not going to wash my feet." Jesus is like, "Well, if you don't allow me to wash your feet, you can't have any part of me." Pride gets in the way of us wanting or allowing others to serve us. And we can crush that pride by just humbly accepting the service of others. This can be difficult for those of us that are servants at heart. It's really difficult to allow other people to serve us, but that is a service in and of itself. That is a humbling act. And humility, the virtue of humility and service go hand in hand. They feed one another. So just allow other people to serve you. That in itself is a service to others. The service of common courtesy. Be gentle and show respect, courtesy toward all men. Titus 3 again. Just pleases and thank yous and opening of doors and shoveling someone's sidewalk. Just little things, just the service of common courtesy. The service of hospitality. It's interesting to me that elders and bishops in the church this is a part of what's expected of them, this lifestyle of hospitality, and that is a service to others. I just find it fascinating that God, through his word, elevates hospitality to such a level. So let's consider that. The service of listening. James 1:19 tells us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And in our world, I believe this is a lost art. The ability to just listen. I don't need to give feedback. I don't need to give perspective. I don't need to give advice. I don't need to fix anything. People in our world just want us to listen. That is a beautiful act of service. The service of bearing one another's burdens. People are carrying heavy burdens. So how do we offer to carry them with them, to release some of that load off of their shoulders, be willing to carry it on our shoulders, to pray for them, to relieve them of that burden? That is a beautiful service. And then one we don't talk about very often at all, but the service of sharing the word of life with one another. So if you're in a conversation with someone and just kind of whispering a prayer to God, saying, God, is there anything you'd like me to say that would breathe life into this person, to give them encouragement, to honor them, and then to respond to the Spirit's leading and speak a word of life into another. What a beautiful act of service. I'm sure there are many more, but these are just some ideas of ways that we can, if you go back through that, maybe jot a few of those things down. Think of ways, ideas, thoughts around these arenas of service, and then consider developing the spiritual discipline of service in your life. It's not easy. That's what disciplines are all about. But remember, it's leading to a freedom on the other side. And that's a freedom from the world's just constant demand for affirmation and praise and worthiness and pecking order. Let's kick that to the curb and let's serve. Serve one another in love. Blessings to you. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.